Yo, what's happening, people, and welcome back to the Tiki Taka podcast, where you're going to hear hot takes, unbiased opinions, and hopefully have a couple laughs along the way. And if you are watching, you'll see that Arman is back. He's back on the pod, the only guest still, recurring guest now. I haven't written an intro for you this time because I didn't think anything was going to top the last one. But obviously, for those who don't know, Arman's a massive Chelsea fan. I had to get him on the pod this week after they were in the cup final on Sunday. And obviously he was there at Wembley, so we will talk about that. And before we get into that, Arman did bring some of his own shirts. As you can see, this Beckham one behind me, the LA Galaxy one. That's a nice kit, nice top. And of course, Didier on that side, the guy who turned up in every final he played in, scored in every final. And boy, could Chelsea have used someone like that on Sunday. So,
yeah, man.
I know you've probably been building up. It's been a day to think about it, 24 hours to think about it. That walk back down Wembley Way after you've lost it yet again.
I'm a specialist in that walk, man. That's my walk.
And of those 6 domestic cup finals that Chelsea have lost in a row, Arman's been at 5 of them. Yeah. And the other one was in COVID, so he couldn't go. So Chelsea fans, you ain't going to get a better rep than this
I've
to
been
talk
there,
through
man.
what's going on.
I've been there.
And as a match-going fan, obviously that's both of us can relate to that, but as a match-going fan, you'll definitely feel those Wembley losses more. They might hit you for a couple 100%. Of days, a couple of weeks, depending on whatever. But because you've been there, you spent the whole day there, took a day out to go and watch your team. But yeah, I know you've probably got a lot to say, so I'm going to give you the floor.
Yeah, man. I was really hoping to come on, and I thought Disasi was going to have a masterclass.
Yeah.
So I was going to bring up and be like, he is the 4th best signing of summer, but he actually did quite the opposite. He was really poor. And you talked about the walk down Wembley Way. It never gets easier.
Yeah.
I feel like you just see new irritated fans along the way. And just to kind of anecdotally, as we were walking down, they stopped us all and the big siren went on and went, I hope you've all had an amazing day at Wembley today. And everyone was just like,
yeah.
And yeah, it was just really frustrating, to be honest. I think the other thing with Wembley, which makes it tough as well, is it's not just a commitment. It's such an expensive match to go and watch. So cheapest tickets, you're looking at like 65 quid. So it just stings even more. But I wasn't in a great way yesterday. Yeah. I was feeling a bit like dehydrated, knackered, and I was just really pissed off.
I mentioned to Arman off there that I didn't message him on Sunday after.
Yeah, no, he was nice to me, and I just.
But I also thought, because obviously I'll give my thoughts on the game in a bit, but I didn't want anything I said to come across as me trying to drive you or whatever, because I know how much that must kill coming back.
Yeah, I think,
and I know how much you hate Liverpool.
No, well, this is the thing for me, is like, I despise Liverpool. Yeah. A lot of people dislike Arsenal at the moment, and they're doing the whole Klopp Arteta thing. But I've just always hated Liverpool the most. And even when I think I might start to hate them a bit less, things happen like Sunday, outside of the game, which I'll jump into, like the way their fans were and stuff like that. But on the game itself, I really expected nothing less than that.
Yeah.
And I've said this to a lot of people before, and I was actually just saying it to Amar's brother. But when we play against Liverpool, I feel like I'm in this horrible nightmare in these cup finals where if you take all the chances in a freeze frame, so if you pause at every single chance we've had across those finals, which I think totals to something like 6.5 XG, which is crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
I can't understand how the ball hasn't gone in the net on a lot of them.
Single goal.
And even on Sunday, right? Who else would you have wanted that first chance to fall to other than Cole Palmer on the Chelsea team?
Yeah.
4 yards out, point blank. Good save by the keeper, but
has to score.
You've got to score. You've got to score. And I would love to have jumped on today, because I've been quite skeptical on Poch sometimes. I don't really have that much of an issue with how he set up, because I think for those big games we have that formula of Gallagher, Lavia, Caicedo, and Enzo midfield. And I felt like we set up really well. And I know there was a lot of criticism on him about extra time, and I do have issues with that. But I felt like on the day itself, we did enough to have won that game. Yeah. And what we've continued to let ourselves down on is finishing in the final third. And I just want to say on Conor Gallagher, I thought he played really well. This is the things that I've been talking about all season, where take your bias aside, take the Chelsea boy English bias aside. If someone's playing as a 10, they need to have goals in their game. Yeah. And Gallagher at Palace caught everyone's eye, because his finishing in the final third and his passing in the final third was very unique and good for that level. He's come to Chelsea and he's improved every other area of his game. That area has dropped off a cliff. And it seems like unless we're playing Palace or he's playing for Palace, he can't get it done. And are you going to get a better chance in the final minute of a cup final?
Yeah.
He had so much time and space.
And the thing with Gallagher, you never feel confident when he's going
never.
through. But one thing that I will say, obviously in a cup final, you just, as a fan, you need your players to take those chances.
100%.
But me and Michael talk about this a fair bit with someone like maybe Kai Havertz, right? Like when Kai Havertz went through against Liverpool and he missed and Saka scored the rebound. And I think Gary Neville said it on commentary. No one really backs Kai Havertz to score in that situation, but you almost just have to accept that Kai Havertz isn't that guy who's going to get one chance and score. That's not his game. So similarly with Conor Gallagher, obviously, again, from a fan point of view, you want him to score that, but that isn't really Conor Gallagher's game. And like you said, everything else that he offered, and that's just a position that Chelsea are in right now, where Gallagher kind of has to be the 10, which is unbelievable considering how much money's been spent. But obviously, when you go to the game, you have a different perspective than when you just watch it from home. Like sometimes when I come away from the Emirates, I'll think certain players had a really good game, but the consensus from people I know that watched it at home might be different. And for me personally, I feel like I'm quite different to everyone else that I've heard.
I know what you're going to say. I know where you're going with this.
Because I actually think, and obviously Chelsea had their chances. Liverpool also had their chances. Gakpo hit the post. The Van Dijk disallowed goal, which I wasn't really too sure on. That
was a strange one.
But I've seen a lot of people kind of cuss a lot of the Chelsea players.
A lot of the midfield I found really weird.
I think Caicedo and Enzo played pretty well.
Yeah,
in the 90 minutes, I was really disappointed with both of them in extra time. But in the 90 minutes, I know Caicedo made that rash challenge on Gravenberch. But I don't really see anything wrong with that in a cup final. You want to put the challenges in, and I think Caicedo made a lot of tackles. And in the second half, he was a lot better in possession than he was in the first half.
I think he lost the ball, and I don't want to quote this too much, but I don't think he lost the ball very much whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I thought he played quite well. I also felt like we won the midfield battle, just to be very clear. I felt like we dominated their midfield. I thought Enzo played well. There was a few passes he played where I felt a bit more quality, and we could have been in. There was one in the first half, I think, when Sterling was through, and he tried to play it back inside to Palmer. But overall, I came away from that game thinking, and I think this is the issue with those two, people love to jump on them because of the price tag. And it kind of feels like they can't really do anything right.
But I mean, watching the game, I thought they both played well. I thought Enzo, in a lot of situations, was taking a lot of the pressure off. Because Liverpool are going to come and press high. And you need to be brave and try and play through that if you're going to get any joy. Similarly to, I said after you lot played Man City at the Etihad that was one of Enzo's best performances.
Yeah, he played well that game. He's playing, to be honest, I think he's been playing well the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah. And I've made this comparison before that Enzo's going to get beaten with the same stick that Granit Xhaka was beaten with, about what is your position, where do you play,
where do you sit?
And that's where I was disappointed with both of them, because I thought, obviously, Enzo's a World Cup winner. Caicedo's not neither of them are really experienced, but they have more experience than the Liverpool midfielders on the pitch in extra time. And I thought both of them should have just taken the game by the scruff of the neck and kind of just controlled the game. Even if you're not going to play progressive passes or go forward, just get hold of the ball, move it 5 yards, get it back. Cole Palmer as well. I thought all three of them could have been able to come back and do that. And that's what I would have. We've seen Arsenal play Chelsea in 2 finals, and Granit Xhaka has been up against Kante and Matic.
He's played really well both finals.
Yeah, exactly. But he's just, when the game state needs it, Granit Xhaka will just get on the ball and he'll just keep it, calm everything down. And that's what I needed both of them to do in extra time.
It felt like, and I think Poch's comments reflected it, that they were really playing for penalties.
Yeah.
And we've done that before a little bit with the Kepa and Mendy stuff when we switched them around. But I think this whole notion of Petrovic being a penalty specialist was really in Poch's mind. But I think it's happened a few times this season. We're treating a lot of games as the smaller club. And I get it, Liverpool first, don't be wrong. And at the time in the ground, I was so nervous. I wasn't really thinking, are we playing poorly in extra time? It was only when I came away, reflected and spoke to
You don't
people.
have time to think about
you
that.
You're just thinking when is it going to get to 15
Especially
minutes?
in a cup final.
Yeah, what's going to happen next? So I wasn't reflecting on it. But I thought the whole performance as a whole was okay. I think we started really nervously.
Yeah.
Like a lot of players were like, there was bad touches from Gusto, Chilwell, Disasi played a few bad passes, Colwill was overplaying. So I don't think it was a great performance from either side. But one thing I will say is, if Liverpool had those chances that we had, they would have put the game in the bed.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, isn't it, really? Like, we're getting these chances every final now, and it's just really, really frustrating.
That's before the game. I think any Chelsea fan I spoke to said that if Chelsea take their chances, there's a good chance they can win
if
this
we
game.
scored first.
But the issue is, are Chelsea going to take those chances? That's been the issue all season.
The one frustration I have with it is, and I don't want to be that guy who's like debating the lines, I think it's so hard to score against a Liverpool side like that. And I personally felt the way we broke the line early on with Jackson, played through Sterling. Obviously, I was at the ground, right? So it's slightly different in terms of what I see. But from what you've showed me and from what other fans have shown me on that replay thing, I think, again, it's a controversial one.
Yeah, it looks a bit dodgy.
And I always think, like, if you're doing enough to score a goal, it's such a big thing. So had Chelsea gone 1-0 up, what would the day have been like? And I don't want to keep bringing up the Lukaku thing, but it gave me that flashback and PTSD. So I think we look good on that front. But I don't know, man. It was just really frustrating. And I get they had a goal ruled out. But I think it's very different when you're going 1-0 up compared to you not going 1-0 down in terms of the moment. So I think that might have played a part. But I thought we didn't test their backline enough playing in behind. I thought the balls into Jackson were often too much on Van Dijk's side. Whereas I think when he had Konate, he looked like he was going to cause problems.
I think Jackson played pretty well. And on your point about the extra time thing, I think a lot was made about the extra time performance because in the last 30 minutes of normal time, Chelsea were really starting to get on top.
I mean, we really should have scored at the end twice.
And with the changes that Liverpool were making, I think everyone just kind of expected Chelsea to go on and carry on dominating in extra time the way they... Because honestly, that last half an hour, Chelsea had so many chances to score.
It just felt like, when's it going to happen? And it felt like every few minutes we were getting a chance. Jackson had that one when he went in behind and played Gallagher in. Then obviously the Gallagher chance itself. And I've rewatched that a few times. And I can't tell whether it's poor from him to control the ball with his right foot, because I think basics you're taught at like lower level football is open out your body. But then I also think he had enough time to go around the keeper with the way he controlled it. So the whole thing was just a bit of a mess, to be honest.
I think he wasn't confident.
He panicked, and it's telling to his game this season, unfortunately, where he is playing really, really well, but he's lost that quality, and it's such a big thing. Because our midfield don't score as it is. Enzo gets a few. I don't think Caicedo scored. Gallagher scored in one league fixture this season, and it's unfortunately becoming more of a problem.
I think, and I think another guy that I saw a couple of people having a go at, but I thought was maybe potentially Chelsea's best player was Malo Gusto.
His touch was quite bad early on, but he always looks dangerous. And none of his bad touches were costing us.
And so, I mean, some of the times the balls come in, as a fullback yourself.
It's so hard.
Balls coming over your
Diaz
head.
Diaz at Wembley is like a guy on steroids. He's just so quick, tight in possession. I think he's found his form again recently since the personal stuff he was having start of the year. But I think
Malo Gusto was bringing it down. He was turning.
I think everyone had a good from the first 20 minutes onwards. Everyone looked okay. Even Chilwell, who I love hating on, I actually thought Chilwell played all right. And he's not as good in possession as he used to.
I don't know why he was just beefing all the kids.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I think he was trying to be like Captain Fantastic on the day.
Go beef someone your own.
Yeah, I know. But it's quite chilly, isn't it?
That was so chilly.
He loves some of that. It's like he loves clapping the fans when he takes a corner.
But yeah, I think overall, I mean, we were having this conversation on our group chat, but Nick wanted me to ask you what you thought of Pochettino's subs.
Oh, good question.
Because Poch is getting a lot of heat for the substitutions he made, and guys like Jackson, guys like Gallagher,
who were playing well,
I wouldn't have brought off. But I don't think either of those players are guys that would want to be brought off. So I think he almost didn't have a choice in terms of like they were just knackered.
This is the thing though. I look at the quality on the bench, and who did he bring on? He brought on Mudryk, Madueke, Nkunku. I don't get the Nkunku thing at the moment. I know we'll talk about it at some point, but like, was he injured on Sunday? Like, who knows at this point?
The way he was playing, because I was ready to come on here and kill Mudryk and Nkunku. Because to come on and play like that in a cup final, there was just a lack of energy from both of them. Like, you've just come on the pitch, and that's such a frustrating thing to see when Arsenal play. They don't really do it as much now because obviously we're in a decent position. But when players come on the pitch and they're being used as a sub and they don't put the effort in, like you're meant to give the rest of the guys the energy that have been playing for 90 minutes. Mudryk, I didn't see Mudryk break into a full sprint.
Like,
and the game's getting stretched. Like I think that's actually a smart substitution.
I thought I was a bit of a hater on him, but when I got to the ground and I spoke to people about him, I think the frustrations were equally shared. So I don't think he's been given enough games, in all fairness to him. So I don't think Poch has been amazing in his development, but I don't think he offered anything on the weekend. I thought when Madueke came on, he had a couple dribbles, but he was like, there was a couple of times he could have taken on Van Dijk, and I just felt like he panicked a little bit. And this happens quite a lot. I don't want to go too much on the Van Dijk hype, but it's why are you not? When he does get taken on, he looks quite nervous. So I didn't think he had a good showing, but you're right. I think when Gallagher came off, we lost a lot in midfield, and he felt like someone who would play 120 minutes. So I didn't get that unless he had cramps. Nkunku just didn't get into the game. He did make a very good run to bring the defender away for Gallagher's chance, which was quite. I think he's got that sharpness, but again, he's out. But if you actually,
I don't think he was fully fit. Obviously,
no. But if you look at our bench, despite the money spent, like let's all say 1 billion, whatever. It's not that impressive, is it?
Yeah.
Like when you look at who to bring on, and there's players that we've had at the club the last few years who you kind of think like, you know, we got rid of João Felix, who I know he wasn't amazing, but he's always available, man. It's just really frustrating.
I mean, you always say availability is the best ability.
It's true. It's so true.
And I mean that's something that like some of the Arsenal players I give them massive credit for, especially like someone like Ben White, who we will. He's
always there.
But he's there week in, week
out.
Your
medical team are clearly doing something that we're not, because I looked at our injury list today and you can get a pretty decent outfield 10. Yeah. You've got Lavia, you've got Badiashile, Thiago Silva, Chalobah. Yeah. You've then got Cucurella and Reece James at wing back. So your midfield threes and Lavia, Ugo Chukwu, and I can't remember who the last one was. You've also got Nkunku on that list now as well. Carney as well. Sorry, he's still on it.
That's an injured 11.
It's an injured. It's basically an injured 10. It's ridiculous. It's just crazy. So I don't know what's going on there. But with the guys that we have on the pitch, in terms of Poch, I don't think Poch should get blamed for Sunday. Okay, I think he did a good job on Sunday.
Because I know a lot of Chelsea fans.
A lot of Chelsea fans are hating online. Poch. I think extra time was a bit disappointing, but ultimately we should have won that game. And you say it quite a lot. Did you coach a win? I felt like he set us up to win the game. I didn't like his comments after the game, and I think he's done this a few times this year where, to put it quite bluntly, he sounds very Tottenham. Even if you were playing for pens, don't come out and say it in the post-match presser. Like, he's talked about it for Leeds again today, or tomorrow, sorry. He said, let's get the fans behind us. It's Leeds at home on a Wednesday night. You shouldn't be needing to call for it.
That's a big rivalry, though, Chelsea.
It is, but he shouldn't be needing to call for it in the way that he is. You know, we should be putting them away tomorrow.
I think it's surprising you say that, because I kind of thought, obviously, again, me and Amon haven't really, I was giving him his time to heal. But I thought you would come on and just
I'm quite rational.
And I thought you'd be onto me, like, oh, you sold me a dream with Pochettino.
You know what? It's because it's been going on for so long this season, and it's not been a surprise. I'm quite used to it at this stage, right? We're losing a lot of easy games at home. We're not taking risks. He's being a bit lazy in some of the things that he's doing. I could go into a lot of detail, but I always talk about when you're playing home games, you need to take extra risks. So if Arsenal are playing at home, you will play Saka, Martinelli, push Odegaard further forward, and you're not going to necessarily play Jorginho and Rice together in those games. He has got the formula for these bigger games to compete. He is not applying it in these smaller games where either Gallagher, Enzo, or Caicedo sometimes need to be dropped, and you need to have Sterling, Palmer, Nkunku, and Jackson as a front four, or whatever that combination looks like. So I can go in on Poch a bit. I want to be positive, and I want to be that fan who gives him time, but he's making a lot of sloppy errors. And I keep thinking back to the start of the season where Colwell was our left back, Disasi was our right back. I know it's the Bundesliga. Give Ian Maatsen one game at left back. And if he disappoints you, that's fair, get rid of him. But I think if it was Klopp, I think if it was Pep, I think if it was even Arteta, I think they would have had the logic to have given it a go when things were going bad. And that's the stuff I can't excuse and use to fix up.
I do think, and I mean, this game in particular, like, people have said it, but you probably won't get a better chance to beat Liverpool in a final.
No, this is the thing.
The team that they put out, especially the way that game was going, the longer it went on, when it went to extra time, I thought even if this game goes to penalties, those for as well as those Liverpool kids and Liverpool youngsters did on the pitch, when it goes to penalties and you're in the Wembley atmosphere and it's a cup final and you're 17, 18, however old they are, they've not played much professional football, that penalty is going to be big pressure. And then you hope that the Chelsea players can come through that. But the fact that Pochettino lost that, for me, it was just like, right, like, when are you going to get rid of this?
When are you going to do something? And this is the thing, though. And just on that youngsters point, because I want to make sure I get this point across, because I spoke to you about it. What a load of bullshit. Like, Liverpool didn't have 11 youngsters on the pitch. They brought on 3 subs. The Chelsea, you've seen the stats. The Chelsea average ages were younger. This Chelsea team is young. Players like Cole Palmer and stuff, I know they've been around City, but they've not actually been the guy in big moments.
Yeah.
Gallagher's never played a final. I know Chilwell's had a few, but he's missed some through injury and stuff like that. So it is a very young side. Having said that, I need them to bounce back.
Yeah.
Because we've got Leeds on Wednesday. You're then in the quarterfinals, I believe.
Yeah.
You're then one game away from Wembley again.
Yeah.
So pick yourself back up. Let's go at it again. Let's sort this shit out because we have shown promise. We went to City last week. We probably should have beaten them in all honesty. So there's something there. He just needs to make a few changes because he's under pressure at the moment. His job is on the line this week.
Yeah.
If we lose to Leeds, he's probably out.
You reckon?
100%. 100%. There's too much of a stakeholder perspective to it. I think you might have seen the Jordan stuff recently. There's rumours they're going between Spurs and Chelsea, but they want the club to have European football. Are we going to miss out because of that?
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. I mean, like I said, I've backed Pochettino. I've been a big Poch defender, and I did kind of want to see Chelsea win this trophy just because the pain that was going to cause Tottenham.
Yeah.
Bat was in the group chat, and I knew he was nervous. He was acting like it was Chelsea beat Tottenham in that final.
Oh, frustrating, man.
The way he wanted, and I tweeted after the game, I was like, Poch, I tried, man, but you might be done because if you can't shake this Spurs DNA, especially at a club like Chelsea that are known for winning. I saw something that since Abramovich came in, maybe Chelsea haven't gone 2 years without a trophy.
Domestically, we haven't now won a trophy since 2018, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I hope I've not got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm thinking, what was it? The 2018 FA Cup?
Yeah, when you beat
when Hazard scored. And that's it. Everything else has been European. If you look at Klopp, right? Klopp's legacy, 3 of his 4 trophies have been penalty shootouts against Chelsea.
Yeah.
One of them is a last-minute winner. And just to say on that last-minute winner, actually, because I wanted to get this off my chest, throughout the whole game, our set pieces were so poor.
Yeah.
That we keep doing this thing where if we've got a set piece on the left, we're taking it as an outswinger when it should be an in-swinger and vice versa. And the corners...
You're saying your attacking set piece.
Our attacking set piece. The corners were abysmal. And my biggest pet peeve in modern football, which came true on Sunday, is why is there not a man at the back post? I always say this. I know it was a really good header from Van Dijk, but what an awful way to lose.
Pro clubs, you tell us.
Yeah, just put someone on the back post. If you're there, you might get
no one ever listens. But
not every single player in the box is a threat.
Yeah,
there's people who, and I felt sorry for Mudryk actually because I think everyone
Disasi
lost his man.
And I saw the clip of it again on Monday Night Football for the goal, and Disasi is with Van Dijk, and within the space of a couple seconds, he allows 2 or 3 players, maybe one Chelsea player or 2 Liverpool players, to get in between him and Van Dijk, and then Van Dijk gets the space, he gets the run, and that was the only way Liverpool were going to win that game.
100%,
Watching the game, the
100%.
only way they were going to win it was from a set piece or. And I can't even really say moment of brilliance. All of those kind of guys weren't on the pitch.
They weren't. I will say though, and I want to give him his flowers. I don't put him in the same conversation as other people do, but I just thought he was brilliant on Sunday. Like his composure, his calmness, his leadership in that perspective. I know it's only a Carabao Cup final,
Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, I thought he was so good because I've seen Terry do that in cup finals.
Yeah.
I think I saw something like Van Dijk, Kompany, and Terry, the only people to have got multiple Carabao Cup final man the matches, and he did play really well, and it was a difference maker because Jackson gives a lot of centre backs a tough time. Everything on Van Dijk's side we weren't getting through, whether it's a confidence issue from players against him, whether it was just his performance on the day, but he was the difference maker and ultimately the man of the match, both ends of the pitch.
I think on that we'll talk about the Liverpool perspective. I know you probably won't want to.
Yeah, I don't mind. It's all good.
The Virgil van Dijk, a lot of people, guys like Culture Cams and whatever, saying that's a legacy goal. And obviously for him to, I think for Liverpool, like you say, the average age thing, the fact that Liverpool made 3 substitutions, all of this, and maybe there is too much being put on that.
Way too much, but it's not surprising because the Klopp farewell tour it's a thing.
The media, Carragher was on
they
commentary, even Gary Neville's line about £1 billion bottles.
It's ridiculous.
You think he went too far with that one?
I'm not surprised whatsoever. The build up to the game was like, I don't know if you saw the Sky info bit, but it was like Klopp's farewell tour stops on his first leg. They just wanted them to win. It's fine. I'm used to it. They love Liverpool.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of what Virgil van Dijk did, and in terms of what he probably gave, like him and Jurgen Klopp probably together gave those young players a lot of belief.
100%
to go out, and that was maybe the difference from. and I don't really want to say Poch didn't give the Chelsea players belief, but from the way they were playing on the pitch,
It didn't seem like
didn't
they
look
had belief.
that.
Yeah.
Whereas the Liverpool and Liverpool do just kind of have that thing, especially with Jurgen Klopp, that they there's almost an inevitability about them in that
especially
final.
against Chelsea. Let's be real.
Yeah.
If it's felt it really, hasn't it, the last few years? And I think with them, so with Klopp firstly, and around the whole Carabao Cup as a whole, I think the Carabao Cup is an important trophy when you're in a title race.
Yeah.
So I don't want to change that narrative, and I think for them it's a massive boost. However, you think they've won the Champions League. I don't know if you saw that photo that came out of the academy players with the Carabao Cup, and everyone was saying, "This is so amazing! Like, look at our academy."
Yeah.
Chelsea in 2021 had that photo with Hudson-Odoi, Christensen, Tammy Abraham, Mount, Reece James, who actually played a part, and Gilmore, as well, who actually played a part in winning that, and no one said anything. So the narrative is crazy around them.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to be a bit more like lenient towards Klopp and like, starting to think, you know what, he is leaving the Prem. What's his legacy in my head? And this just did my head in. And the final thing, which really sent me over the edge on Monday, was I was driving back from the gym and I had Filthy on. And just to be clear, Filthy is Filthy Fellas. It's not some weird thing for everyone listening.
It's a football podcast.
Yeah, it's a football podcast. And they were doing top 10 Premier League managers. And they put Klopp above Mourinho and no one debated it. And I was like, he's won one Premier League in 8 years. I know he's a good manager. He's done a really good job. Even I will admit that. Mourinho is a better Premier League manager than Klopp. So that sent me over the edge. And I felt like flipping the car. I was done.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, like I can only really look at it as if I think if that was Arsenal in that final, and that was Mikel Arteta, and there were 3 or 4 guys who were playing Premier League 2 against Stoke City a couple of weeks ago. Even though I think the actual ages of those kids weren't that young. I think maybe they were like 20.
They were inexperienced. Yeah.
And obviously the difference, like you say, the Chelsea team is young, but the reason that comparison is being made is because of the money that Chelsea have spent on those young players, right? But I think from that perspective, to do what they did, I think they do deserve their props. Those kids,
they played well.
For some of those kids that were on that pitch, McConnell, Bobby Clark, Dans, whoever else it was, Jarrell Kwanzaa, that might be the highlight of their football career.
And
like they might not play in another final. They might not win another trophy. That could be.
They played well.
Yeah.
Jaden Dans played really well. I thought he actually looked like a handful.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I used to watch Jaden Dan's dad, Neil Dans, play at Leicester, and he was good, right? So he was an underrated baller. So to see his son now play in the final against Chelsea was actually like, I'm too old for this shit moment. Yeah. It was cool.
But and I mean, again, a lot was made about the Liverpool fans and the way that they were I don't know if you've seen this, the way that they were supporting their team in extra time with the youngsters. And as soon as that happened, even on Sky, Neville, Carragher, it's the usual. Whenever it's Liverpool, whenever it's Man United doing well, they're awful on commentary. I remember even when Arsenal beat Liverpool and we had the conversation about the over celebrating thing, and it's like I feel like there's only people who don't go to games.
Of course.
When you're
going to be happy.
When you're
100%.
in the stadium, like at that point, that game was massive for Arsenal, but after you win that game, you're not really thinking about the title race.
No, you're just enjoying the moment, man.
You're
just enjoying the moment.
Like we've just beaten Liverpool in
some of them, not all. Some of them have actually travelled down from Liverpool. And deserve that. Like,
The
majority haven't, but some have.
But then Carragher's saying to Odegaard, "I'll just get down the tunnel." When Odegaard's taking a photo of the Arsenal cameraman who's been at Arsenal for however.
I was saying I had this debate recently because. And I don't know if he's going to tune into this, but I'll send it to him. So Louis D hates Arsenal.
Yeah.
He used to hate Liverpool. I mean, I hate Liverpool, but we disagree on Arsenal a bit. And I said to him, I was like, you go to games as well. Like, we both go to games. So I actually think I would like to see it at Chelsea sometimes. Just because football can be so taxing at times.
Yeah.
And I think when you get the moment to celebrate, you should. And you've talked about the Liverpool fans there.
Yeah, because let me quickly finish that point. Because Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, they were doing their 360 panoramics of the Liverpool fans and saying, "Oh, you can only hear Liverpool." And from on the group chat, guys were saying, "Look, it's looking like Anfield now." Like Chelsea fans aren't making any noise or whatever. But I'm aware that the media just love to give Liverpool fans, and they love to give them that, like, "Oh, we're the best fan base, we're the loudest fan base."
The thing is, I remember there was one moment in like the 88th minute or 86th minute when they all started singing "Allay, Allay, Allay." Yeah. But imagine when the Chelsea fans sing the classic Chelsea chant.
Yeah.
No one gets like everyone hates on it.
Yeah,
They don't know the songs in their end, to be very clear. So
Yeah.
there's no like player songs going on. It's just tons of fans who have bought tickets from live football tickets on the day, which I've just been ranting to you about. I don't get this special atmosphere thing. And I'll also say, and I'm going to talk about it a bit later, they get painted as this massive family club. And, you know, some areas of the club are great, right? They were throwing flares into the home end. They're doing stuff like that. And it's like, why do they get this special narrative? I will say with some of the Chelsea fans, and I'm not saying you got a chant for the whole game, but some of them give it so, it's like they give it so large. And there's also a massive drug problem in football, which you see at these games, right?
Yeah.
Second Liverpool scored, they've all left. And I'm like, you're the people shouting around saying it's too quiet in here, yet the second we go down, you're just out the door. And it's the same guys who go in at half time and they have a pint and they come back in the 65th minute.
They go in 5 minutes early, come out 10 minutes
and it's
late,
just it's really frustrating. So, but look, I don't want to hate on them too much for Sunday. Like, you celebrate when you win a cup final, regardless of Wembley.
Yeah. But like you say, I mean, you mentioned that they're celebrating it like the Champions League. When this was Man United last year, everyone told Man United it's the Carabao Cup. What are you doing? It's not that big of a trophy. Yeah. And to be honest, Man United fans celebrate that. Like you say, it's a trophy. Celebrate it, but
celebrate it.
And I don't give Man United fans a lot of praise ever. But they didn't really celebrate that like it was something massive. Because I think for a lot of Man United fans, they know. I mean, they did think Ten Hag was going to go somewhere from that, but they didn't really celebrate that trophy in the same. But I guess for Liverpool fans, they've seen their team do it in maybe a different way.
But wait, can I ask you a question? How do you celebrate a trophy from your sofa? Like, what do you do?
Fair.
Like, how do they do it? How
do you want to name a couple people?
I actually saw Murph on Sunday. Classic. He was leaving Wembley as I was getting to the game, so I said hi to him on the way. But no, look, a trophy's a trophy. I'll take anything at this point. Like, I'm scrounging around for like bits and pieces.
I think that was such a massive one for Pochettino.
Could have changed the narrative, innit?
Yeah, if Pochettino wins that trophy, it's not like he gets a free pass from now to the end of the season. He still needs to perform well, but even if Chelsea got Conference League at the end of the season, and they picked up this trophy, in comparison to where Chelsea were last season, I know they spent a lot of money, but you would say that that's progress. Yeah,
100%. And it's, you know what, I've got so much to say, and it's so hard to condense it all into a few points, but you just forget the impact of trophies in football. Like, it can really change your narrative. It can give you some confidence. And I am trying to be more sympathetic towards Poch because I've seen what people like. I saw today on Twitter, like, potential lineups when Ruben Amorim joins us. It's like he's not a manager, man.
Apparently, Deserby.
I can't do the Brighton thing anymore. Like, apparently we're hiring their head of recruitment that replaced.
Guys saying Todd Bowley should have just bought Brighton.
Oh, honestly, man, it's just frustrating, but it is really bad for him. And I think this weekend as well, people are probably forgetting, but Brentford is a massive fixture. Like, if he loses to Brentford with the form they're on, and it's going to be a really tough game. We're 11th, we're 10th or 11th or whatever it is. It's not looking good. And
to be honest, bro, I think you'll beat Leeds. I think you should have enough to beat Leeds.
Yes. Come on.
I did watch them play Leicester on Friday. I was messing.
That's a tough one.
But yeah, Leeds don't really look that good of a team. Leicester should have been out of sight. So I think Chelsea will win that game, but I think you'll lose on Saturday if I'm being brutally honest.
But
just because I know how Brentford are going to play.
100%.
I know they've been on a bad run of form, but I don't trust Chelsea to take the chances when
not
they
at all.
Them.
Yeah,
and I trust Ivan Toney or Wissel to bag one of the three that they might get,
which they're going to get. Let's be real, right?
But yeah, and I think I was going to ask you this question in a FCM style way.
Love that. Yeah.
But I think I know your answer. Arman, are you Poch in or are you Poch out?
No, I'm 100%. I'm not coming as this hothead today. I'm going to stay Poch in because the only other manager that I'd want to replace him, I don't think would work as much as I'd want him to come in.
Yeah.
Like, if you offered me Mourinho today, I would 100% take it. But realistically, that's not going to happen. And it probably isn't going to work. And it's probably too short term. So right now, I can't see who else comes in. But at the end of the season, I think he's probably going to get sacked from what I'm hearing.
Okay.
From in and around the club and sources on Twitter and stuff. So he's got a chance to turn it around at the end of the day. Like,
so
he's got the chance to do it.
Yeah. So I thought that you were really gonna come in here,
Yeah.
and be your like, well, you told me about Pochettino,
Like Chelsea fan TV hype. Yeah, I could have done it. I could have done it.
This is your guy, and I was prepared to come in here and just say, you know what, I think I might have got it wrong.
Yeah.
Because I can't help but get away from the fact that I think that's a big one for Pochettino. I think he really should have won that final.
Yeah.
I said this after you beat Tottenham. I said this to Michael. I was like, if you've really got the credentials to be a Chelsea manager, you go to that Tottenham game as an ex-Tottenham manager in their stadium and you win that game.
Yeah.
Right, by hook or by crook, you win that game.
Yeah.
And he did that. And I think this is another one of those games where I thought if you really have the credentials and have what it takes to be Chelsea manager and a guy that wins at all costs, you need to win that game.
My thing for him is probably slightly different to others, where I have more qualms with the other results, like the Wolves at home, the Brentford at home, the Forest at home, than I do with the cup final. Cup finals can go either way. And like you said earlier, we've been losing a lot of them, right? We lost them with Tuchel, we lost them with Lampard, we've lost them with great managers. So my qualm with him is, can you just fix up the home form? Can you get us playing a bit better football and scoring more goals? Can you get our wing backs overlapping? Like, you've got Chilwell back now, regardless of what others think of him. You've got a left back. You've got Gusto. You've got Colwell and Disassi, who look like a decent pairing at the back. So right now, you've got a chance to go on a bit of a run. You've got some decent fixtures coming up. Show me something before the end of the season. But I don't think sacking him right at this point does any. I think if he was going to go, it maybe could have been 4 or 5 games ago.
Yeah.
But now you kept him in. You probably have to see it out to the end of the season.
Yeah. And the one thing where I am still with Poch and whatever is, like you say, can play a bit better football?
Yeah.
Can you score goals? And I've said this about Arsenal and Mikel Arteta even this season, especially in the Fulham game, we were just poor. And Mikel Arteta came out and said we were poor. We could have played for 6 hours and we wouldn't have scored today because the play was. But the West Ham game before that, we should 9 times out of 10 we win that game.
Yeah.
And there are times where, and I think it was maybe Pep Guardiola that said it, and he was like, in the final third, you can't really coach that. You just have the talent.
Players who can go and do it. Yeah.
Got Riyad Mahrez, Leroy Sané, Raheem Sterling when he was there. You just have guys who can go and do what they need to do in the fight. You don't really coach. And obviously, you can coach spaces. You can coach like where to be, when to move and whatever. But you need that quality in the final third.
Yeah.
And up until that point, in a lot of Chelsea's games, Poch has got the formula right. But in that final third, they just haven't had the players to take those chances.
It's a really good point, to be fair. And like you say, like if players miss chances, players miss chances. But I do also think when you have quality on the bench, you need to try and put as many forwards on as you can. Yeah. I'm not saying you need to go like 2, 3, 5, right, by any means. But if you're playing teams like Wolves at home, if you're playing teams like Forest at home, start a bit more positively. I think we haven't spoken that much since the Palace game, but even then, good substitutions at half time, right? But why did Cole Palmer start false 9 away at Palace, who have been really struggling? And it's small things like this where
it wasn't working.
And also, Cole Palmer's probably our best player, right? This season. Why take him out of his best zone, which is kind of like right wing /10? There's definitely more he can do, and we've got time now. Like I said, we could get to the FA Cup final. Who's to say we couldn't? And if can you turn it around? It's only
really Liverpool and Man City. If you can stay clear of both of them until you get to Wembley,
I just can't do another Liverpool final. I actually think I categorically might not go if it's Liverpool again.
I don't even blame you.
Yeah, it's just too much, man. It's way too much.
But yeah, I just think that. So obviously you've said that you're Poching, 100% Poching. Does that mean that you think he's done enough?
No.
With the squad, has he maximized what he can get out of this squad? Is he like what are the factors that make you think Pochettino is still the right guy?
It's a really good question. I really like the way you articulated that. So just to be very clear, I think despite the injuries, despite everything else, Poch should still have done better than he's done so far. So I want to make that very clear. We should 100% be doing better. You've got the squad. You've got enough good players to be 7th or 8th. Like,
is that where you think this squad?
That's where I think they should be right now. Yeah. Like if you compare it to West Ham, Brighton, Newcastle, Wolves, whoever else, right? Having said that, because you've got to this point in the season, and because we've now seen 3 managers in a row, like Potter, Lampard, and now Poch struggling, I just don't see what's going to change. I think if you're going to do it, you do it after 15, 20 games. So I'm not in because of how well he's done. To be very clear, I'm in because what's going to change.
And I'm looking at the table now. You're 4 points off 7th. with a game in hand.
Yeah, it's just I just can't see us winning games consistently. It's so
Yeah,
problematic.
last time you came on the pod, you said that you don't think Chelsea will win 4 league games in a row.
And you thought it was going to happen away at Anfield.
And
I actually thought it could happen. I don't know why.
You have won 4 games in a row, just not league games.
Not in the league. Yeah.
But yeah, you did that 3 in a row. I thought maybe they're going to have
the Wolves one was a big turning point for me. I think had we beaten Wolves at home, we'd have felt really confident.
Yeah.
But we just got demolished.
I think the Wolves one was a big one for Chelsea fans to kind of be like, maybe Pochettino isn't the guy. But I think and I said this last season when everyone was telling me that Arsenal were in a title race, and if they don't win, and I was saying this to you guys, that I always think it's weird to move the goalposts in the middle, because when you say at the start of the season that this is where I think the squad is capable of getting to, you're basing that off a 38-game season where you're going to have injuries, you're going to have players out, you know what the squad is like, you know what the other teams are like. So to say after 26 games that, okay, this team is now in a title race and they should be winning the title or going for it or whatever, it seems weird. And at the start of last season, I said that I didn't think Arsenal were going to get top 4 because Tuchel was still Chelsea manager. I thought Chelsea, City and Liverpool were guaranteed.
Conte was around, wasn't he?
Yeah, Conte at Tottenham. I thought all 4 of those guys at the start of last season were better managers than Arteta and probably had better squads because Tottenham had just made top 4 and got the improvements that they had made and whatever.
Yeah, you stuck with that,
And for Arsenal to have then been where they were, it was great. And unfortunately, we didn't capitalise on it. But I think you have to be a real Arsenal and Arteta hater to say that was a failure of the season.
The thing is, right, you forget, like, do you remember 10, 15 years ago, Wenger era, we used to always laugh, top 4 trophy.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot, like, more money in the Prem and stuff now, but you forget how hard it is to actually get that. But I think the reason that we set those goals for Poch was because you looked at the squad that was available. You didn't think Nkunku was going to miss every game. You just bought Lavia. You just bought Caicedo. You had Enzo in place. So there was a lot more expectation on that front.
Fofana got a fresh
injury. Like, Badashil forgot how to play football.
And I think Fofana can be a big player for you guys. I think that's quite a big miss.
I think now it's going to be so hard to get back to where he was with those injuries.
So much football.
Yeah. But to be clear, I still think we should be better than we are. Like, the games we've lost and stuff. Like, if you'd have beaten Forest at home for context, 1 extra game, you're suddenly doing it. So there's all these small things which you could have done differently.
And people say, I know at the start of the season, a lot of people said with the money that Chelsea have spent, they have to make top 4. They must make top 4. But you really have to just kind of look at it and say, they've spent that money, but what's the actual quality on the pitch like?
You have to actually look at the transfers.
Yeah.
Firstly, the money spent on who they were spent on. So all these random Brazilians we keep buying we're never going to see play.
David Washington.
Then you actually have to look at who's available.
Yeah.
And then you have to make your conclusion. So if you're just going to come up and say, you spent £1 billion, I'm not going to engage because I just can't be bothered. It's just such a lazy narrative.
And ultimately, I'll say this now: if Chelsea get Europa League, I think they've had a successful season.
Oh, I wouldn't use the word success. I'd maybe say meets the criteria.
But I mean, you
passed the exam.
You finished 12th last year.
Yeah, but last year just has to be put as an anomaly because of all the stuff going on. But you've passed the exam. You've got through clearing.
Okay.
I would put it a bit more like that. So you've not succeeded.
You got your number 1 choice through clearing.
You're going to that uni that no one's going to name, just in case people went to it. But you're going to one of them.
Yeah. Fair. Because obviously top 4s.
Yeah.
I know I predicted in my mid-season awards for Chelsea.
Yeah, that ain't happening. No way. I
don't think that. But like I said, man, I think like the most important thing is Poch just can't allow that cup final loss to derail the rest of the season.
He's got to pick up. This is like you say.
Because ultimately, you can still have a good league campaign.
Exactly. This is what makes you a man and makes you a manager. Like, how are you going to bounce back? Are you going to sit there and moan, or are you going to get on with it?
If Pochettino goes and beats Leeds and Brentford this week, I think he'll gain a lot of the trust back from a lot of Chelsea fans.
And I've looked at some of I can't remember our fixture list off by heart, but I know after Brentford we've got Newcastle at home, and like the way they're playing, I know we're going to come on to that now, but the way they're playing,
you should
like we should be looking to win those games. So is that a game where you do actually finally make that change and play, 3 forwards off the striker or like 3 attack-minded players and go for it, or are you going to just keep doing the same thing? And there's that quote, I want to say it's Einstein, but I might just sound like an idiot, which is like, you try the same thing again and again and again and expect a different result.
It's insanity.
That is Einstein.
That is Einstein. Definition.
Shout out Einstein.
I never thought Einstein would get a mention on this podcast, but here we go, man. That's why we do it. But yeah, like you say, we'll move it on.
Yeah.
Arsenal versus Newcastle. I was at the game. 8 p.m. Saturday night felt weird. I don't know if I've ever.
I
been
don't
to,
like that timing.
Yeah, I don't know
it's
if I've
weird.
ever been to an
yeah.
8 p.m. Saturday night game, but atmosphere was on point. Arsenal fans were up for it. And other than the Liverpool game, I think that's the best performance of the season. Arsenal were on fire in that game. That first half, we did not let Newcastle breathe. They didn't get into our half. They couldn't string 2 passes together. The press was on point. I've told you this, few things I love more than a Kai Havertz false 9 shift. He put that in the game, came away with a goal and an assist. Should have had another goal. But yeah, it was just an absolutely brilliant performance from Arsenal.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be transparent because I'll say it to the audience. I was out on Saturday for most of the day. My girlfriend claims to be a Newcastle fan, so when we got home, I made her watch it. It was her birthday, so she got to watch Newcastle lose 4-1.
Yeah.
But I will speak on Arsenal more generally from what I've seen since the Fulham game, and I'm going to say Porto aside because I think that can happen in European football. The response since that game has been so good from Arsenal. Yeah. I'm not saying they're going to win the league. I'm not saying they're the best team in England, just to be very clear, because people will jump on me. But you have to sometimes just acknowledge when teams are playing well.
Yeah.
You're dusting teams like 5-6-0. You beat Newcastle 4-1. Like, you're just getting the job done. And
away from home as well.
Yeah, and players are playing well, so you got to give credit where it's due. Like, the fact that you're even in a race is impressive.
Yeah.
With the money you've spent and the team you have compared to, like, City. So I just think credit where it's due. I think everyone's playing well. And Saka is building this trait, which Salah has, which is you can score when you're not playing well.
Yeah.
And obviously with Salah, we hate on it sometimes, but it is a useful skill to have.
Yeah.
And he's becoming good
useful.
at it.
So I said this to Michael after the Liverpool game. I was like, Saka's just becoming a numbers guy in the sense of, like,
inevitable.
He might not play great. And a lot of Arsenal fans, especially in the first half of the season, didn't think Saka was playing at his best. He'd still come away with maybe a goal or an assist or whatever. And I think his performances have gone up a level, but I'm still not seeing the same kind of Saka that I saw last season in terms of his output, he's doing more than he was last season.
Yeah.
So if he's going to do that, I'm here for it. I've got nothing but respect for that. But we mentioned the set pieces in the cup final.
Arsenal's are so good this year.
You're always banging on about, so even when we play pro clubs, you want a corner routine.
Get it going.
Yeah, you want
Stop
it to
playing
go to
it short, man. Put it in.
Yeah, you need communication. You can't just have Gould whacking it in there. And yeah, honestly, man, there's a belief now, especially at the Emirates, that when we get a corner,
you're gonna score.
Something's gonna happen.
That's such a good position to be in as a football club. Like, I miss the days when JT would come up for a corner and you're like, oh, he might score. Ivanovic is there. Ivanovic scored 2 headers away at Anfield. Like, these are the kind of corner routines that you want.
And in the Europa League final, scored a great header.
This year, it's a get out of jail free card when you're not playing well.
And Gabriel just a monster.
Declan Rice takes really good corners, man. I know he's a big guy, so it feels a bit weird.
Nick called him Declan Beckham.
Yeah, mate, he's got whips on him, man. But I don't know. There's just something efficient about Arsenal, which I don't think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Because if I think of when I started watching football properly, which was around 2003, 2004, Arsenal had just won the Invincibles, right? You then went a bit soft for quite a while, and you were actually the team who people exploited from set pieces and stuff. But now it's just like every other game, you're getting a goal. There was the Palace game a few weeks ago where I was watching it, and I was like, you're winning this game because of your set pieces. West Ham as well, just blew them away. But there's loads of players who I think have stepped up recently. The one that's impressed me in more recent weeks is David Raya. Yeah. Because I feel like he started the season really shaky. Yeah. There was a lot of like, why have we spent this money on him? He's looking really good from crosses.
A lot of Ramsdale prop.
Yeah, there was a lot of Ramsdale prop. But he's looking so good from crosses. He's playing out with his feet well. And you are just blowing teams away at the moment. So I'm intrigued to see where it goes. Yeah. Like, are you going to keep doing it? Who knows? But you're probably going to come top 3.
I mean, on that, I wanted to ask you, because obviously when me and Michael sit here, it can get a bit Arsenal loving, a bit Arsenal heavy, or whatever.
A bit.
But hey, look, we're doing well, man. Me and Michael have been
this guy in just to keep you grounded.
Me and Michael have been in the dumps with Arsenal, right? Like when Chelsea get back to maybe challenging for titles, doing everything. I'm sure you'll be giving it large, right? I mean, you were giving it large when Tuchel was there, but. Where do you see Arsenal's chances this year in comparison to last year? Do you think we're a better team than we were last year? Do you think we have a better chance?
I think you're better than you were last year, but I know. Let me be very clear. I think you're more efficient than you were last year. Actually, last year you had that cool surprise factor, which is like new team.
We were like the most exciting.
Yeah, it was a bit like Liverpool in 17-18 when Salah kind of like came good. So you had that exciting spell. This year you feel more efficient, but I think you feel like for me, you feel better set up for the future now. So you've got a really core foundation,
Yeah,
that base of like Gabriel, Rice, Saliba looks really strong. And I just think you just get the job done a bit more.
Yeah.
And even in the Champions League, the way you've been playing, and if this doesn't come true, great, I'm happy. But if it does, it kind of proves me right. I think you'll go and blow Porto away second leg. I think you might beat them like 4 or 5-1.
Yeah, look, obviously, I'm hoping that's the case, but I really think, especially given the way that the atmosphere's been at the Emirates at the minute, the way teams have just kind of seemed to crumble when they come. I know Champions League's a different ball game. The Porto players have played in tough atmospheres. It's not going to be like when obviously Newcastle came on the weekend, but I think there is a chance that, because when we went into Porto, the very sloppy performances, bad touches or loose touches and poor passes, and Saka and Martinelli weren't really in the game at all. I don't think that's going to be the case at the Emirates. I think both of them will be on their shit kind of thing.
And Porto are notoriously poor in England. Their record in England is awful. But no, I think Arsenal look really good, man. Like, I think this is the thing that people find hard to comprehend. You can be good and be playing very well without being the best team in England.
Yeah.
It's City are the best team in England. Liverpool are playing really well. Arsenal, if you look at where they've come from and where you've been for the last 6 to 10 years, you've definitely improved.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time since the Wenger era where you feel quite relevant again. So instead of everyone just hating, and instead of everyone being like, oh, you're this, you're that, sometimes I like just sitting back and enjoying football. And right now, you're playing good football, you're playing well, and you look like a good side. Having said that, from a neutral perspective, again, it just makes it more interesting the last 10, 15 games of the season, because I think for most of us fans, when City win the league, it's very convenient. No one really, there's not too much it's
almost like everyone wants City to win.
Because you're not your mate in East London is not going to say anything, right? But equally, for people like my dad's generation who aren't supporting like the biggest clubs in England, it's nice to see a title race sometimes. So if it does go down to the wire, even if City win it again, it's good viewership.
Yeah. Do you think City are going to win it again?
I think you always have to back City. Yeah. For some reason, I just can't see Liverpool winning it. And I don't know if that's just in my head, but I just feel like this is going to run out at some point.
I don't know if you saw, but I said to Michael a couple of weeks ago, and I've since said Liverpool won every game, but after we beat them, that I was like, this Liverpool midfield cannot win the league. For all we know about the Premier League, for all we know about the team, Makelele, Essien, Lampard, these robust midfielders.
Yeah, even like how you winning it with Curtis Jones and McAllister.
When Klopp won it with Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson, like if he wins the midfield with Endo, McAllister, Jones, or Endo, Szoboszlai, whatever it is.
He's just subbing in pieces, isn't he? Yeah.
That will be.
It feels like it has to run out. But having said that, I did look at their fixtures.
Yeah.
And they probably have the easiest run in.
See, a lot of people are saying this, but I think, and I've said this to Mike, I think I've said this on the pod, I think Liverpool will win every game at Anfield from now to the end of the season.
Including the City. They've got City.
Yeah, I think.
Do you think they'll beat City?
They won't lose that game. They won't lose that game. I cannot. City haven't won there with fans since 2003.
Yeah, I think this is time for City to go on another one of their statement runs and just go and.
But even when they do those statement runs, they don't win at Anfield.
Yeah, the only thing is it is in their hands right now.
Yeah,
which obviously it's kind of the same for like Liverpool as well, right? But when it's in City's hands, it feels like it means something.
Yeah.
So I would just feel like an idiot if I said they weren't going to win it again, because I felt like that last year.
You can't bet against Pep.
You just can't. I felt like that last year, and they just went on a tear. And
yeah.
Foden is playing really well this year. Feels like he's like having his step out and breakout year. Not to say that he wasn't already great, but Haaland's back.
Yeah.
There's a few things in place for them, so I'm always going to back them. But it does feel a little bit different this year. It does feel like all three sides could potentially win it.
Yeah.
And I generally mean that. I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here. I generally would not. I wouldn't be like shocked if you did somehow win the league.
Yeah. I think for the Liverpool perspective, I think I'm looking at their away games.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I looked at Brentford away, and they went and dealt with Brentford. I mean, the defending from Brentford in that game was
it was
shocking,
just ridiculous, wasn't it?
But they go to Forest on the weekend.
Yeah.
And obviously Everton with the point deduction that's been reduced. Forest are now just above.
Yeah.
Luton. I'm looking at Forest away in Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, Awoniyi. Could they do something? I think in the away games, Liverpool might slip up. But me and Michael said all season that we think City are going to win it. Like you say, you can't really bet against them.
You can't bet against them.
And I think Arsenal's best chance of doing it is just win our games, which we're doing what we need to do in a minute. Win our games. Obviously, that game at the Etihad's going to come, and that's going to be massive. And I think Arsenal are a lot better set up to deal with that game this year than they were last year. Last year in that game, it just looked like men against boys. they beat us 4-1. KDB within
Mm.
5 minutes set the tone for the game. It just looked like they were a level.
Yeah.
I think this year, and look, we could go to the Etihad. KDB could do the same thing.
Yeah.
They've got quality players.
You'd
but
feel like you're more in the game.
I think with Declan Rice, with maybe Tomiyasu at left back, and I think we can go there. And I think we've been the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
I think all the stats show that. I think we can go there and really actually put in a much better performance than we did last year. But I think Arsenal's way of winning that title will just be stay there, and then if Liverpool or Man City slip up with 3 or 4 games to go, pounce.
It's the Mourinho thing, isn't it? Like, he would always say, you kind of want to go and set up just to not lose sometimes away from home.
Yeah.
And I
100%.
feel like this Arsenal team can definitely do a better job at that than you could last year because you've got that spine. But also, sometimes just going there for a point isn't the worst thing. If you've beaten them at home like you have, you just got to be in and around it.
Yeah. But yeah, I also just wanted to give Mikel Arteta a bit of credit here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on it just because you already mentioned earlier that Arsenal deserve their props for being there with Liverpool, man. For Mikel Arteta to do what he's doing and it's a very good squad.
It is. He's built it well.
Which I give obviously Edu and Arteta credit for because Arteta's obviously decided these are the players I need to buy. 50 million on Ben White. A lot of people clown that. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, we signed Raphael Varane, you lot signed Ben White."
Yeah, that meme's come back to haunt people.
We'll see.
Yeah. You said it from day one.
Yeah.
You said it was a better signing.
It'll turn out to be a better signing. And on that actually, before I do the Arteta thing, Ben White.
Yeah.
A player I love, I love him.
Yeah.
I think he's massively underrated. I think I've said this to Michael before. I think people pigeonhole him as a defensive right back.
No, he's got tech. He's got tech.
Yeah. And I think the availability, best ability, he locked down Anthony Gordon on the weekend.
Yeah.
He locked down Luis Diaz when they came to the Emirates. He's just been a very... I think I had him second on Mikel Arteta's best signings.
Ben White is like that guy who comes into Casa Amor, looks-wise as well, the way he's built.
Yeah.
But he's actually all right, man. Yeah. He's a bit like Jack Fowler. He stays on the show.
Yeah.
He just came out of nowhere. This Leeds-Brighton thing was odd. He then came to Arsenal. I didn't think he was at the level, to be honest, when he first came in. He then kind of got pushed out to right back because, Gabriel and Saliba.
I never thought he'd succeed at right back.
No, but he's built his game very well and he's very solid, right? I'm not saying he's the best right back in the league. And if I compare him to like Augusto in the way that they attack, it's very different. But sometimes you just have to be the player for your system.
Yeah. Exactly.
And in Arsenal's system, when you need to tuck in as a back three, if Zinchenko pushes up, he works well there. If he needs to go forward, he works well with Saka. So I've criticised him at times to you in the past, and I feel like there's sometimes he gets exposed. But for the most part, for the last few years, he's been a very solid right back. Yeah. I don't want this to get taken the wrong way, but a bit like how Jemir Ivanovic used to just slot between centre back and right back, and he just kind of got on with it.
Yeah,
he's kind of doing that job. I don't want to say to that level because Ivanovic kind of has that legendary status for Premier League right backs, but he's just getting it done, man.
I can see the comparison, and man, I hopefully that continues. But in terms of Arteta, I just think for him to be doing what he's doing and competing with Pep and Klopp, regardless of where it ends, come the end of the season, I think as Arsenal fans, we can just appreciate that a lot. Given where we were before to be where we are now, and for Mikel Arteta to be like the man leading this charge, leading this machine and whatever, I think he just deserves a lot of props.
100%. And two last things on Arsenal. Jorginho's turned out to be a brilliant signing. I know you didn't.
I was going to ask you about Havertz and Jorginho.
I think Jorginho's turned out to be because I think he had to leave Chelsea just because of the way his career, and he wanted to be in a certain zone, and I respect that. But you're using him in the right way where it's not every game.
Yeah.
There's certain moments where he just brings, and he has his negatives. He gets bullied off the ball sometimes.
The thing with Jorginho is, like you say, he hasn't played that much, but he played Man City at home, Liverpool at home, played Newcastle away, and we got a good result there. Newcastle at home. He's played some Champions League games, and you know this. I was Jorginho's biggest hater. Anyone who knows me knows that I used to call him whack, and the thing that used to annoy me was they used to compare him to Granit Xhaka.
Yeah.
But. And I don't know, maybe Jorginho is, or maybe this is just me putting the blinkers on, but when he plays for your team,
you see it differently.
You see what he's doing especially in an intense, high intensity game. Because to be honest, even when you're playing against a low block, Jorginho is perfect because that pass he plays to Martinelli, even if Newcastle are just sat behind the ball, that pass is still going to work. But I think when you actually see what he brings to that, I mean, Newcastle tried to press us and Jorginho was just killing them.
He's so composed.
And especially next to Declan Rice, who I don't think
who does a lot of his dirty work.
Yeah. And Declan Rice doesn't have that pass through the lines that Jorginho or Thomas Partey has. Which I think Declan Rice can learn that. Obviously, if he just hangs around with Jorginho and learns that from those kind of players. But to have them together, I think they complement each other really well.
I think as well, if you look at the teams that Jorginho's done well in, the Chelsea 21 side, the Italy side, and now the Arsenal side, the thing they've all had in common is they've got very solid backlines.
Yeah.
So when he does make that mistake or when he does get bullied off the ball, you can kind of recover it. I think as well for Arsenal fans, you're probably not getting as frustrated as Chelsea fans would have because he's not playing every week, like you say. He's playing in certain moments.
Yeah.
Where he did used to be a bit frustrating was when he's getting bullied off the ball in a lower league.
It doesn't look good.
Like FA Cup games away or whatever. So
he did it against Tottenham earlier on. But that's the one mistake since he joined Arsenal. That's the one mistake.
And he's got that thing of like when he makes a mistake, it does look really bad. Like I think was the Sancho? Was he the one who's kind of slipped for the Sancho era? It was him, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was him. So things like that look really bad. But I think he's been a brilliant signing for you, and I think he just looks composed and relaxed. And if I compare him to, and I'll segue into Havertz now. Yeah. Havertz is doing Havertz.
Because disclaimer, unlike most Chelsea fans, Aman's a big supporter.
I quite like Havertz. Players. I feel like he really suits. We've talked about he really suits that false nine role in certain games. Yeah. But I think what's helping with you is, and I know you've done it a few times, when Trossard's played as the striker and they've interchanged, it kind of gives him a bit more of a surprise element.
Yeah. And that dynamics worked well.
Yeah. Whereas when we had him at striker, he wasn't interchanging with anyone, so it was just like quite sluggish and slow. But I think he's doing his thing. I don't think he's been a great signing. I don't think he's been an awful signing. I think he's just been a decent signing, and there's nothing wrong with that sometimes. So I know people want to clown him and stuff, but I think he's done okay. You're also in that purple patch, the winter purple patch, which you had a bit of it in December, didn't you, as well? Yeah. So he's kind of in it now, where it's like things are looking good, but he's got like 6 league goals. He's played more in midfield. I don't think he's been a bad signing by any means.
Yeah. I mean, Michael summed it up perfectly when he said that when talking about Havertz, he was like, I think we overpaid. I think a lot of people say that. And his wages, the reported wages and whatever, highest earner at Arsenal and whatever, maybe that's too much. But when you actually just look at what Havertz offers you on the pitch and what he's going to do on the pitch, it's been a fairly, in my opinion, it's been a good signing. Because he offers us something different that we didn't have before. Yeah. So that Liverpool game when Jesus is out, and this is another difference between Arsenal squad last year and Arsenal squad this year. If that's Eddie Nketiah having to play,
he's not holding
nine. He's not really gonna. And I like Eddie, but he's not really gonna cause Van Dijk and Konate any problems. Yeah. Right, they're just going to have it all their way. And in that game, I know Havertz should have scored, but I think that was one of Havertz's best performances in that game.
He gets ugly sometimes.
Exactly,
and you need
got Konate sent off. He got him booked both times.
He gets in beef as well. Yeah. He does back. He's such a niche profile of a footballer. And my dad always watches him, and I feel like my dad's got a decent eye. There's a couple he gets wrong, like I think he told me how good Edouard was for Palace once, and I was like, no. But he's got this eye for forwards, and I feel like with Havertz, he always rated him because the games that he would be watching were like the Champions League ties and stuff. Yeah. And he looks so in control of those games. Yeah. So his finishing's always going to be what it is. Yeah. His aerial stuff is hit and miss depending on what game you're playing, but he's a good hold-up presence. Yeah. And there's not many players in the league that you can plug and play in certain situations. And you can just play. I don't think he's ever expecting to start 38 games in a season either. Yeah. He seems quite unproblematic as well, dressing room-wise. So I think it's worked out for all parties.
Yeah, and that's
actually,
why,
except for us, the way we're going. But I don't think that's because of Havertz, but it's worked out.
And that's why I would say he's a good signing, because he gives us that option. Yeah, we don't have to put Eddie in there and maybe like suffer a bit more. And we're, like it says enough about Kai Havertz that when we play Man City, even if Gabriel Jesus is fit, me personally, I want Kai Havertz to play as a false nine in that game. Yeah, because I think again, something me and you always talk about in those big games. I mean, I know he doesn't score the Liverpool chance, but it's actually his.
He's there. He's doing stuff. He's
and
making stuff happen.
It's his movement that drops in and becomes a number 10 that brings Konate. Van Dijk doesn't know who to mark. And if he can do that up against Ruben Diaz or John Stones or whatever, I think that will just cause them more problems than a Gabriel Jesus.
And when you have forwards who are on fire, that's the other thing that people forget at Chelsea is his wingers weren't scoring goals. So when you actually have wingers who do get goals, like your Sakas and Martinelli here and there, it makes a difference. The other thing on Havertz is, bit of football fandom, He has two of the best songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like his song at Chelsea was so good.
What was his one at Chelsea?
I'm not going to sing it, but you can search it up. But it was really good. But I think obviously because of his Champions League final goal. But then again, his Arsenal one is jokes as well.
Yeah.
Like when you hear it, you kind of like you tune along to it. It's funny. So I think he's a likable person as well. Like, as a player, I feel like he didn't really leave Chelsea on a sour note either. He was just a bit like
we spoke about this last time.
Yeah, he just got on with it. I got no issue with him.
Yeah.
The only guy, Mason Mount, I've still got an issue with, man. I hope he plays against us, by the way.
Mason Mount's missed most of the season.
He should have gone on a free.
Man United should have just waited a year. And on that, we'll move on to Man United because after a good
What a segue. That's a professional segue. That's a podcast.
Mate, 26 episodes now, man.
You're in. You get it.
But yeah, I mean, Man United have been on a run recently.
Yeah.
Me and Michael, as much as Man United fans hate us, they hate the podcast. They think we always cuss out Man United, which maybe we do. But we've been giving them their praise recently.
Yeah.
Rasmus Højlund's been scoring goals. I know you're a big fan of Rasmus Højlund. You've always said that you think that he's a good player.
Yeah, I'll stick by it. It's coming through.
And I think he was a massive miss for Man United because, I mean, I watched this game and they were just toothless up for
they're the youngster, didn't they?
Yeah, so. But he played from the right. So Ten Hag moved Garnacho. And this is where I need to get onto Ten Hag.
Yeah.
Because we know Rashford's not a striker, man.
I know. He's proven it time and time again.
Rashford's really not going to offer you
a
lot. And where I have some sympathy with Ten Hag is Rashford played striker a fair bit last season.
Yeah. So you think he can do it?
Right? So that's partly on Rashford because Rashford's just not in the best run of form and whatever. Yeah. He said before he doesn't want to play striker. But also on Ten Hag, Rashford's found a bit of form on the left, leave him there. Garnacho's found a bit of form on the right, leave him there. And if you want to play Amari Forson,
just give him a go up front. Yeah.
But he's moved Rashford. He's then moved Garnacho to the left to play Amari Forson on the right, who is his debut. Credit to the guy, made his first start and whatever, didn't really get involved. But if you're going to do that and you're going to leave your £90 million man, the guy that you vouched for, Anthony, on the bench, I mean, what does that say?
He's such a clown, man. Anthony is such a clown. The thing about Man United is, and again, I said it on the pod earlier, but Saturday was a girlfriend's birthday. Didn't watch as much football as I would have liked.
Shout out, Katie.
I think I owed her it because on Valentine's Day, we watched Millwall Ipswich. And I just kept talking about Amari Hutchinson, which I'm sure was how she wanted to spend the day.
Yeah.
But in terms of Man United in general, my care for them is quite low because these things will keep on happening.
Yeah.
But when they actually do happen, like Iwobi scores a 97th minute winner.
Yeah.
It just hits so hard, man. I saw the goal fly in straight on the phone and I was like, this is just brilliant.
Yeah.
What made it even sweeter was there was a video that Sky put out earlier in the day, which was Calvin Bassey's mum called him, started shouting at him in a Nigerian accent, and Iwobi was just like, classic Nigerian parents, man. And they both just went and dunked on Man United. It was so good.
Yeah, after Nigeria had lost the Aston, they both came back. They both scored it. And Fulham were full value for that win, man. They had chances in that game. Iwobi missed a chance in the first half.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Muniz has been playing up front for Fulham recently. He had a couple of decent
Fulham
chances.
was so similar to that Wolves side 2 years ago, where they're just really good until the final third, and then they're quite toothless.
I mean, they took 4 points off us this season.
Yeah, like they're quite a solid team foundation-wise. But if you look at like Carabao semis, they should have put Liverpool away. This is quite a recurring theme. But on them, I feel like they're doing a decent job.
Fulham.
I don't think they'll get. They're not in any relegation.
I mean,
trouble.
they had no Palhinha and no Willian in this game, so I don't want to hear anything from Man United.
And they had a weird start to the season, man, with the Mitrovic stuff, the Marco Silva stuff. Like, there was a lot going on for them. But on Man United, this is going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be lured in with a few Ten Hag wins, and then stuff like this will happen. And like we've said before, I want him to stay for as long as possible.
Yeah.
I'm worried that actually the rumours that are coming out are suggesting that he might leave end of season. But
that Ineos might sack him.
They're just going to have this inconsistency. And there's proof in the numbers, right? Teams are having so many shots against them.
Yeah.
Teams are dominating the ball.
That's the thing. Even in those couple of wins that they've had, the way that they've been playing, like especially in the Aston Villa game, they caught life in that game.
The Luton game. Adebayo was there. They were done. They were done.
The amount of chances that they were missing in that game.
Yeah.
And I think Man United fans knew that as well, to be fair. I think they knew that it's not really
it's not sustainable. And this is such a big thing.
Exactly.
And it's why I'll keep dying on the hill of I still would rather be as bad as we are in our position right now because I think they're better at this point, right? But I think our curve is so much higher.
Yeah.
And again, look, like when you score 89th minute, how are you conceding 97th?
Yeah.
They've had
Yeah.
so many moments this year where you feel as if they've turned the corner with late winners, late equalizers, late
You've
penalty
said
misses
this a
again.
couple of times.
And if you
yeah.
have all those momentum swings for you
Yeah.
and you still can't get it done, it's so problematic.
I remember when Onana saved the penalty in the last minute against
Yeah.
Copenhagen,
And they still
and
got
you
the
were
times
like, "Yeah,
up.
this could be a massive momentum swing." But yeah, man, I think on the Man United point of view, not only was it a terrible performance from them, I mean, Fulham have won one other away game all season.
They're just so
that,
funny.
That was the first day of the season.
Yeah.
Now they've gone to Old Trafford. I think last time they won at Old Trafford was in the 2000s,
Yeah.
right? The Fulham away fans were singing, "How shit must you be? We're winning away."
I love that. That is one of the best chances
Yeah,
of any
yeah,
football game, man.
yeah.
It's so good.
And Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United captain. People coming out this week saying he's the worst captain they've seen at Man United. I think I sent that clip of him
Yeah,
trying to win the foul, and then the play goes on, and he realizes he has a chance for a shot, and he gets straight back up. I mean, whenever I message Louis about anything, he always tells me that he wants to hear Bruno Fernandes conversation on the pod.
Yeah. This is the time, right?
And between you and Louis, two of Bruno's biggest haters.
Yeah.
So I want to give you the floor because you've been telling us for years. I remember when Murph was trying to run the KDB versus Bruno.
Ridiculous.
Who's better? And I was saying, oh, well, if you look at the stats of Bruno, but that was just to fuel it.
Yeah.
But take the floor, man.
He's just pathetic.
He hasn't scored a league goal, by the way, since the beginning of November.
And this is the other thing that's interesting. When I watch him, I'm not thinking about his goals and assists. I know that sounds really weird. I just watch him as a player, and it's how I watch football in general, which is why I have the Hazard, Salah opinions and other stuff. I just watch it for the player itself. If you score or you do something magical, by all means, it's great. Like his goal away at Fulham this year, credit where it's due, right?
That was his last goal, by the way.
But this is the thing. Consistently, he's going to let you down, and you cannot build your team around players like Bruno. If you look at all the top sides in Premier League history, no one has ever been centered around a guy like that. He's inconsistent.
Frank Lampard.
No, let's not do that. We're not doing that today. That's where we draw the line on the Chelsea stuff. We're not doing that. He's not a big game player.
Yeah.
I know he might have his little penalties in big games here and there and that kind of stuff.
He'll tell you he scored in a 6-1 loss.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, and there's so much inconsistency there as a player, and you think Man United, the club, the people who have captained them before, your Roy Keanes, your Gary Neville's, like, he's just a bit of an embarrassment, man. And I'm content with it because, like I say, if he keeps playing the way he plays, he'll do a few good things, and then you'll get to these moments. But the mentality, I know people say he presses and stuff, but I think it's a load of rubbish. I think those stats are quite misleading.
The thing with Bruno is that he presses, right?
He runs and throws his hands in the air,
but it's not smart.
It's not tactical. Yeah,
it's like he's not doing smart running. He's just running for the sake of running and leaving massive holes in the midfield. Jamie Carragher did a piece on MNF about the spaces in that Man United midfield. Casemiro's left on an island. Kobe Mainu and who's actually been all right. Didn't have the best of game on the weekend, but I mean he's a young kid. Like you can't put.
You got to be led. Bruno's got to be leading them.
Exactly, and him and Bruno are on the last line of the defense. Varane's got the ball. He's only got one pass on. It's just the way the team's set up is terrible.
Yeah. You know, with Bruno, you know what it makes you think of in terms of like how everyone's finally coming to this narrative. You know that scene in Power where the letter gets delivered to Tariq? And it's like, I knew you'd end up here. That's how I feel with him. Like, I knew you were going to be here eventually. And it's this thing around United, and it's this thing around how they play and Bruno as a whole. But because he has such a carefree attitude in the sense of he will just spam balls into the box, spam passes. It's ridiculous.
The way Bruno loses possession, especially on Saturday, is so careless.
It's crazy.
It's so careless. Like, and I feel the one redeeming factor with Bruno that I always used to like his numbers when he first joined the league for a year and a half.
Were crazy. They were crazy.
Were undeniable. Like the stats that Bruno was putting up, regardless of what you thought of his performance. Sometimes you do just have to, this guy is scoring or assisting every week, right? But I always knew with Bruno that if he's not doing that, and normally you say this about strikers. I used to say this about Aubameyang. I told you when he went to Chelsea. Like when Aubameyang's scoring, life is great. Life couldn't be better. But when Aubameyang is not scoring, it is hard to watch.
You see the bad bits of his games.
And you see that with Bruno, because Bruno, and I'll make the comparison, not to bring it back to Arsenal, I can even say James Maddison, but Martin Odegaard and James Maddison, right? When you could, and that's always a comparison that's thrown out there. Those three players, right? To me, there is no doubt that Odegaard and Maddison are better players.
Oh, 100%.
To me, there's no doubt. I'd even put, I know you don't like him anymore, but I'd even put Mason Mount in there. I think Mason Mount is a better midfield player than Bruno Fernandes. And Man United fans won't agree with that. A lot of people might not agree with that. But especially Martin Odegaard, and maybe that's just because I watched more of him, but he can operate in almost every phase of the game. Especially this season, he's picking the ball up deep, he's controlling the tempo, he's picking his passes. I've seen James Maddison do it at Leicester. I've seen Mason Mount be able to just kind of control the game.
Yeah,
like
just
that.
go in and change stuff. Yeah,
but the one thing that Bruno Fernandes had on those guys was more goals, more assists, more final third impact. But when Bruno Fernandes doesn't offer you that, he's really not doing anything to help you.
The biggest test in football of quality over a longer period of time is when you lose that surprise factor, how do you keep reinventing yourself, right? When he first came to the Prem, obviously people knew who he was, but there was a surprise element with him, right? He was pulling off these passes, he was putting in these crosses, like you say, he was spamming stuff, and people were struggling to deal with it. Once defenders and analysts and teams catch up with that, it's then about how you as a player reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
Saka's a good example of it, right? He slowed down a little bit last year, but now he's finding new ways to influence the game. Bruno isn't doing that. And I was watching Cole Palmer a few weeks ago, and I want to make sure I word this correctly, but Cole Palmer does some things that Bruno does, some of the frustrating stuff where he is quite like, let's just whip it in, let's just whip it in. But it still feels more calculated, and it feels like he's got another layer to his game in terms of his dribbling, his drops the shoulder, the way that he does it. Bruno is getting more and more found out, and now as a footballer, at this age of his career, I can't see how he ever goes back to the level that he was at. So I think he's on the decline. I think Man United are just in this sluggish, stationary position. Yeah. And I've said it before, it's a bit like, do you remember when Liverpool had Coutinho? And no one thought they could replace him. And I remember at the time thinking, and I'm not just saying this,
Bruno Fernandes is nowhere near
nowhere near that level, to be clear. But I thought they can actually improve without him. Because even though he's really good, there is a gap in their team because of the way he plays. I feel the same about Bruno. I genuinely think if you got rid of him for like 90 mil, and you reinvested that into other players, I think they could get better.
Yeah. I think even a lot of Man United fans are coming to the realization that if they get decent money, if you said to a Man United fan, if you get decent, not Murph,
but Murph will never part ways.
But if you get decent money, similar to the Kai Havertz thing, similar to the Mason Mount thing, maybe. You always say that the Kai Havertz deal was good for all parties. Kai Havertz he probably wanted to play Champions League football, whatever. He got that. He stayed in London. Chelsea got nearly
good money,
almost everything that they paid for him, which you would have thought
you never thought was going to happen.
Was never going to happen. And obviously Arsenal have got a player that they really wanted. If that kind of thing happens with Bruno Fernandes and
just
you get
take
a price
it,
tag,
man.
I think quite a lot of Man United fans would say and they'd say the same about Rashford. I'm not just picking on Bruno Fernandes here, because Rashford, and I said this at the start of the season, do not let it be the big contract hoodoo. Because I've seen that with Mesut Ozil. I've seen that with Aubameyang at Arsenal. You give those guys the super max. They're like, and you're the star player. And things just go off a cliff after that. And then they're on this big contract and you're trying to get them off it. And Rashford signed that contract last year. So where's he really going to go?
The problem with Bruno is, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, is that with someone like Rashford, you could see a few rogue clubs coming in for him. I could see a big European club coming in for him. I could even see a PSG going in for him, other English sides. With Bruno, I don't think Bayern Munich would go for him. Maybe someone like PSG. I don't think Real Madrid or Barca go for him.
I think an Italian side.
But I'm also thinking money's tight in that league at the moment, right? They're all having to find ways. So I wonder if he's in this weird middle ground where no one's going to go for him. The only club I would actually quite like to see him at, just for his ratty personality, Atletico. I'd love to see him at Atletico. If Simeone could just grab him by the neck and say, look, stop being a little bitch. Let's use this rattiness and let's galvanize something. But again, I just think Man United as a whole is just, I wouldn't want to be in their position. And I say that.
You still rather be in Chelsea's position.
100%. Although I'm still very embarrassed about the performance.
I love that. Stand on your takes.
Yeah, I'm still embarrassed about the performance we put in at Old Trafford. I won't forget that.
That was
one of the worst Chelsea games I've ever seen.
Awful. They ran riot, man. Scotty too hotty.
Yeah, it was just a joke. They should have beaten us like 7-1. It was ridiculous.
But you've got a return leg at Stamford Bridge, man.
I'm going to be sitting there, second row. I'm going to get the plastic snakes out, and I'm hoping Mount plays left wing. I shall launch him out. I'm not actually going to do it. I don't think I have the bottle to do it, but I want to say something.
Whilst giving Chile some advice.
Oh, yeah. Chile starts high-fiving him. Chile should just clean him out. Like
Chili's
if
not gonna
Mount
do that.
if Mount
Chili's
sits
not
on the
gonna
right,
do that.
Chili should just 2-foot him first.
The way
minute.
Chili was beefing all those young kids, he's not gonna.
He'll
stop
hug
that.
Mount at the end of the
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he'll start
yeah.
getting. You know what he might do? He'll hold his hand and try and get everyone to clap him,
Yeah, it
and then I
probably-
might lose my shit
probably,
and run on
yeah.
the pitch.
But yeah, I mean, top four for Man United. Could it happen?
I don't know if it. I think it could happen. I don't think it will happen.
I just don't think they're a good enough team to get there.
If they get it, I think it'll be similar to this year where they just
They
get
got
dumped
City
out.
away on Sunday.
Yeah, but it's not even that. It's like if you get to Champions League, it's like what I said to you earlier. If you're in the club, are you doing something? Or are you just standing there?
Yeah.
Are they going to do something? They're going to
Yeah.
stand there again, man. Do something.
Yeah.
Move.
You can't finish bottom of your group that has Copenhagen and Galatasaray.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man.
But yeah, I don't think they're gonna get there. I just don't think. I mean, the way Man United set up is just awful, man. They concede so many chances. They concede so many shots. And one team that might get top four, Aston Villa.
Yeah, man. The Villa thing's weird for me because I think you said it as well. I thought this bubble would burst a little bit, and it kind of half burst.
Yeah, they had
this,
that little
They've got
period.
this second bit of energy, and
You lot beat them.
Yeah.
Newcastle beat them. Man
oh,
United
well, we
beat
actually
them.
played really well that
Yeah.
midweek in the that was good performance actually. I don't know if we'll do it
I
again.
thought
in the league.
Villa were gonna, but they're not completely falling off. I think they're back to back wins now.
Problem with Villa is when they fall, they fall.
Yeah,
Like they really do kind of like self-destruct. But I think they're sticking around. They've got a good squad, even with the injuries. They've still got a lot of players. And whilst Ollie Watkins is firing the way that he is,
13 league goals.
mate, I was thinking, in this generation, we've not had many of your like, there's some old school guys where you sit around, you're like, oh, do you remember Darren Bent? Do you remember Jermaine Defoe? It might be. Do you remember Ollie Watkins? He might be that era of striker where he's not quite top level, but he's scoring so many goals at a big club or like a top 6 or 7 side. And even Leon Bailey, man, I know we talked about it midweek, but he's been pushed out of Leverkusen previously for Diaby.
Yeah.
Diaby's come over here. And I think this season, Bailey's been the better of the two. I know Diaby's looked really good, but Bailey just looks so consistent. And you think back to the Gerrard era, and I was talking to my cousin at the time who is a Villa fan, and he was like, I don't get why Bailey doesn't play more. And I was like, he ain't all that. But now he's showing something. And their squad, their team, the way they play, they've over-exceeded expectations. I know people said they thought they might get top 4. I didn't think that personally.
No, like I said, I didn't predict him to be there. And on Leon Bailey, man, I think you know this about me. My almost favorite type of player to watch is a winger that will run an ISO, that will just a Let's Dance winger, Harvey Barnes.
He's not dancing much anymore, man. He's
done all right since he come back. He's done all right even in the game at the Emirates on the weekend. There were a few nice moments. I had him in my top 10 wingers. Pedro Neto's brilliant. Just gets the ball and runs at you. Obviously Riyad Mahrez, Wilfried Zaha,
the GOAT.
And Leon Bailey's doing that, man. Especially on that first goal, he gets the ball, he just runs at, I think it's Murillo, takes it past him, puts it on a plate for Watkins. In the Man United game, he creates so many chances. I think he's been playing really well, and Villa look in really good shape to kind of finish the season. So I think they've got Tottenham at home soon. So
Which is a big game.
Yeah, if they win that game, they can really create a gap between them and Tottenham.
Yeah, and the thing is, you said it there as well. No one likes being run at.
Yeah.
Especially in transition in open space. Like I said it about the Carabao final, but no defender likes being run at in open. It's so hard to defend against because the forward, even if they're slow, is always in an advantageous position. The way you're being run at
can go either way.
But they're doing their thing. I don't think there's actually that much to say on them because they've just been so consistent throughout the year. So even if they don't get top 4, I think they'll get European football. And sometimes as a club, you scale and you build, right? Each season you keep adding players. If you look at Tielemans, for example, Tielemans went Villa in the summer, and a few years ago we were talking about him going Arsenal, AC Milan, maybe Chelsea. So they're picking up players like that who are going to keep bolstering their squad. They've got players like Matty Cash have been there for a while. Luca Dina's looking better there. They've got Alex Moreno now. So they've got a squad which doesn't look like
Douglas Luiz scored a brace on the weekend,
and he's the one guy who I think actually is he going to get a big move. Yeah, because the rest of them,
Arsenal have tried a couple of times,
but they're in that nice sweet spot though where you're good, but your players are not. There's not one individual standing out so much, barring maybe Watkins and Luiz, where you think you're going to lose them somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if none of them left this summer, in all honesty.
And I think after the season Watkins had, and I don't think he will go, but if he does go, that's going to be, 60 million plus?
Where's he going to go? He seems like a Spurs guy.
Chelsea.
Nah, the thing is, they wouldn't. I would actually like to see it, but they wouldn't do it. This is the thing.
He could go to Spurs.
Even United and stuff, like you think, what's stopping clubs going for a player like Ollie Watkins?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird. It's one of those strange ones that I think we outside of the footballing world will never know the answer to, because there's so many players over the years where you think, why is he not at a top side?
Yeah.
What's stopping it?
And they never quite made Ross Barkley.
Yeah, he was at a top side.
Yeah.
He's a baller.
I think Man United fans were saying they would swap Bruno for Barkley.
Man,
right now.
I hope Barkley gets a Euro call up.
Yeah.
I think the streets. I will support England wholeheartedly if Ross Barkley goes to Euros.
Yeah,
He's just such a G.
I hope Ross Barkley gets, because Luton probably will go down.
Yeah, I think he leaves even if they stay up though.
I hope he goes to a West Ham, a Brighton. I would love to see him in the Zerbi system.
Yeah,
I think
he looked good.
Ball differently in that kind of system. But yeah, I'd love to just see more of this Ross Barkley.
Yeah, it's been so hard to find, hasn't it? And my dad was saying this the other day. He was like, if Leicester go up, I'd love to get Ross Barkley. And I was like, you know what?
That would be good.
I could actually see a move like that.
Dewsbury Hall, by the way, played really well against Leeds.
He did, but they just didn't get it done.
Yeah.
And they're in a weird position. They're playing tonight, actually, so I don't know what the score is, but they're in a weird position because Ipswich are looking really good now.
Yeah.
I think you tweeted about it. Championship needs more promo.
Yeah.
I think it just needs more eyes on it because you forget the quality is really good.
But and when I said that, when I tweeted that, the way Sky run their promo for some of the Premier League games, like even on the weekend, that they were advertising that they were showing Wolves versus Sheffield, which isn't a big game. Probably like not a lot of people are going to watch that, but they're advertising that that's on TV. They will always advertise the Saturday night football, whatever. I didn't know that it was Leeds Leicester.
Yeah, I remember when you texted
until
me,
my dad messaged me at like 6 o'clock on Friday. Or Leeds Leicester tonight, and I was like, "Oh yeah." I'll
and they're both bigger. I would say they're both bigger clubs than Wolves.
And I don't see Sky advertise that anywhere.
They didn't give it the build up. It was weird. It was on a Friday night. I felt like it should have been the Saturday 12:30.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes they do the Rogue Championship Saturday 5:30. It was a weird one
because there was no Prem 12:30. So
are we segueing into that? Are we talking about?
Yeah,
it?
we can talk about that. Yeah.
I thought it was a weird one because I missed some of the game, but I caught up on the highlights and watched the last half an hour. And Leicester keep doing this in big games. I was giving you your
updates while you were out.
Yeah, Leicester keep doing this in big games where I think the lack of VAR is a problem sometimes in the Championship because that Daka goal is clearly onside, right?
It is.
But they've also just not been putting away their chances in.
The chance that Patson Daka has.
Yeah, it was bad. And he's actually been playing quite well recently. But he misses quite a few chances.
Yeah.
But they've done it again. They've had 4 6-pointers this season, let's say, give or take. Leeds at home they lost, which is their first loss of the season or second loss. Ipswich at home and away. They were winning and conceded in the 89th and the 93rd minute. And then again, Leeds, and there's been quite a few deflections in there. And it's like, you're still 6 to 9 points clear of third place, but it's getting quite close now. It's getting quite touchy.
Yeah.
And if they keep...
The gap was, 11 points?
The gap was big, but the problem is, I saw a stat last week, which is something like, in all the years previous, only 6 teams in the history of the Championship have been above like X amount of points after 32 games. This season, the top 4 had all done that. So it's very, very strong at the moment. And it shows because of how weak the Prem is, right? There's a lot of poor sides in the Prem. So I hope they get it done, but it's weird.
Southampton lost at home to Millwall the other day.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which was a big one.
And Amari Hutchinson's suddenly started balling. So I think Chelsea could pick up like 10, 15. I don't think he'll make it at Chelsea, but I think there's a lot of good players in and around those teams. And Ipswich look good, so... I don't know what's going to happen, but it's an exciting end to the season. And whoever doesn't get promoted from that top 4, it could even be 2 of them, depending on how the playoffs go, are going to be kicking themselves.
Yeah. And I know, like, even West Brom, and I know that a lot of West Brom fans are raving about Carlos Corberán because they don't think that their squad's actually that good. But what Carlos Corberán's doing with it, I think, and again, I don't know if it's just this season's Championship, but I've watched a lot more Championship this season than I have done previously. And I know a lot of people who do watch Championship regularly have said that this is a strong Championship.
Yeah.
They've got good teams in there. But like even when Middlesbrough played Chelsea in that Carabao Cup semi-final, if Sky were advertising whenever Middlesbrough were on TV and you could watch that game, I mean, you would just know more about them when they play Chelsea.
Yeah.
It might just become a bit more interesting.
And they're actually on TV a decent amount. This is the weird thing people forget. Like, these teams are on TV pretty much every other night, and it just doesn't really get talked about.
There's always a Championship 12:30 kickoff.
Yeah.
But
no one ever seems to watch it.
You will never, ever notice that.
Because everyone just changes their heads.
Yeah.
One thing I like about the Championship is, you talked about West Brom there, right? And we always make jokes about, you live in Birmingham, why do you Man United? Teams like West Brom, I love that Punjabi guys and guys from different backgrounds go and support those clubs, and it makes such a community, and My dad's got it with
Bro,
Leicester.
the Wolves fans at Chelsea, the away fans, had a banner, Punjabi Wolves, in the stadium at Stamford Bridge.
And that guy from Punjabi Wolves, one of the main guys, is walking today from Wolverhampton to Newcastle, and he's trying to be in Newcastle for the fixture on the weekends. It's a 200-mile charity walk, and it's things like that where people don't realise exist. And we don't have this in London, right? We don't have these communities of stuff. So I've got such high regards for the Championship. I like watching lower league football anyway. When I was in Spain, I watched the Levante game. It's still a good level. And it's fun to watch.
Especially in a different country and the way they play.
Oh, 100%. It was interesting.
But yeah, I mean, we've spoken about the games there that we're going to talk about, and we will move on to the MVPs and rookies of the week.
Yes, I came prepped this time. I actually got my list. I'm gonna get it up.
So yeah, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll start with, you know, I'll go champs, you go champs.
Okay.
And then I'll go duds and you go duds, or MVPs actually.
Okay, MVPs. We can't steal the FCM thing. But yeah, firstly, and I know this is almost gonna be a direct opposite of what you're going to do. But I was going to give one to Liverpool Football Club.
Technically, yeah.
Obviously, their players turned up in that final. Virgil van Dijk in particular. And Jurgen Klopp, man. A lot of people say what they want to say about Jurgen Klopp. Unfortunately, Chelsea are responsible for half his legacy. But to go... And I saw someone say, could Pep Guardiola win that final with those players that were on the pitch? And I never will say anything against Pep Guardiola, what he's done in the league, the way he's revolutionized certain things. But that is a characteristic that Jurgen Klopp maybe has above Pep.
Yeah, he's shown it at least.
That motivation, that passion, that like I can put these kids out on the pitch and I can just kind of. Because you can't really tell those kids the tactical knowledge that they need in a cup final.
You just give them that confidence and belief.
You just tell them, like, exactly. The confidence and belief. So I'll give Jurgen Klopp one for that.
Yeah.
Jared Bowen, I think we were both going to say.
Yeah, he's on my list as well,
Patrick. And then the other one I had was Oliver Glasner, won his first game up.
Yeah, and he came out drippy, man. He had the Canada Goose on and stuff. Yeah, he looked quite cold.
New manager bounce, 1-3-0. Palace fans, hopefully they're a bit happier with the football that Glasner's going to play. But yeah, those were my MVPs.
The Jared Bowen one, I'll build on that because he was on my list, right? I never like when wingers play up front. I just think it just does my head in. The way he's playing, the way he found that pocket of space for the header, the third goal yesterday.
He scores a lot of headers as well.
It's just unbelievable. Like we do that blackjack thing. He's making mine go bust because he's just scoring so much. So I've changed my mind on him.
I think his first goal was his best goal.
Yeah, his first goal he took well.
And then kind of slashed.
But he does that stuff all the time. But he's got to be on the plane.
You reckon?
I actually was quite anti it, and I was like, is he ever going to change the game? But when you're scoring this many goals,
but then what? You take Saka, you take Foden.
You take Bowen, you play either side.
You take Grealish?
You probably do, but he's very out of form.
Do you take Rashford?
Yeah, but I think Rashford's another striker.
Do you take Sterling?
Well, I don't think he's going to go. So I'm saying
you wouldn't take Sterling?
I probably would, but I don't think he's going to go.
So I'm asking you who you would take. That's five. That's 5 wingers.
I need to sit down and do my list properly.
Cole Palmer?
Oh, it's so tough.
You know what I'm saying? So Jared Bowen.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The only people that have scored more Premier League goals than Jared Bowen are Haaland and Salah. Yeah. So I'm not taking anything away from Jared Bowen. He's had an unbelievable season.
But you think there's more quality around it?
Usual season, you would say, he should go. For me personally, I don't think Rashford or Sterling should go.
Yeah.
Based on
form.
I think you have to base it on how they've been playing this season. I think it's unfair, even though Southgate.
I don't think Sterling will go.
But I'd take Saka, I'd take Foden, even Grealish you can put in that. I don't know, but maybe Grealish is enough to go.
Yeah.
And then I think Cole Palmer's ahead of Bowen. Maybe that's big.
Which is a shame for Bowen, though, right? Yeah. Because and Bowen's clearly quite versatile, so he can play any.
I think the England squad is just in attacking positions is so
overloaded.
Strong so strong.
And it's probably a bit weak in midfield, if anything, barring a few obviously standouts. So no, I'll sit on that one. But big praise to him, man. Yeah. If you look at his journey in football, like the way he's come up from he was playing for Hereford at a point. He's done such a good job, and he just seems like a nice guy as well. Even with all the Daddy Dyer stuff, he just seems like a nice guy in it. So. I like Jared Bowen. So, yeah, he was my first one. My second one was, I know it's a weird one, but given all the hype around Maidstone recently and the way they went and beat Ipswich, I watched that game last night because obviously someone I knew was playing. Coventry just put them away.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to show your quality. And I know it's a weird champ or an MVP rather, because they're just beating a lower league side, but they just
Ipswich didn't do it.
Oh mate, they
Yeah.
just demolished them from minute one. So it was good. It was impressive to see, and they've got a few really good players. They've got a guy called Casey Palmer who looks really good. They actually sold Kikarez in summer.
Okay, yeah.
So he was
yeah.
the guy who everyone
Oh
thought.
yeah, the one at Sports.
Yeah, so like he was
yeah,
like
yeah.
they've lost a big player, right? So I was quite impressed with them. And when they do turn up on their day, they can look really good. So one for them. And then the last one, which I didn't think I'd say this season, because I've been putting them more on my dud side of life. The Raptors have won 3 games in a row.
Okay.
Which after all the trades, I thought the team's coming together quite nicely. You've spoken about it on your pod before, and I've mentioned it. Grady Dick was looking awful.
Yeah.
He's been going off the last few games.
Yeah.
So suddenly now he got a little bit of excitement around like RJ Barrett, who's actually from Toronto, quickly from the Knicks. You got Scotty Barnes, who got an all-star. It's quite a nice like little feeling, but my only concern is, are they going to start to do a little bit well and then cost themselves a draft pick because they've got a weird protection on their pick this year? So that was my third one.
Are they making the playoffs?
No chance.
No. Okay.
I'm hoping they get a lottery pick, but the way that it's working is if their pick is 1 to 6, they keep it. If it falls outside of that, they don't get it because of the way the trades are. So I think they're going to cost themselves, but at least they're trying to win.
Yeah. For fair play. I mean, win 3 games in a row. And for the rookies, for me, I was going to give James Trafford one.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a lot of hype about this weekend, yeah.
The pass that he gave Brownhill. Brownhill then gets sent off, recovering the pass. And it's just a long way back for Burnley after that. But the pass he gives him is never on.
Yeah.
It's an awful pass. And Brownhill's then got sent off. And the collateral after that is just awful.
And the narrative around it, from picking up a League One goalie after your keeper got Championship Keeper of the Year.
Yeah.
It's just not looking good for company.
Ten Hag.
Yeah, he's
has to get one.
He's always there, man.
Like I said, the amount
he's just like a mainstay.
He's permanent rookie of the week on this pod. But I think, like I said, moving Rashford out of position, moving Garnacho out of position, you bring Amari Forson in, whatever. People are calling for Amad Diallo.
Oh, but they need to stop calling for. Someone's not picking up the phone.
Bro,
give up.
I was hearing United fans saying that Amad's got something for Saka.
He's like a key stage 2 Mahrez, man. He's not even a B-Tech. He's a key stage 2.
Bruno Fernandes.
Do you want to just name the whole United side?
I could do it. I really could. But Bruno Fernandes in particular, meant to be Man United captain, spoken on him. And ultimately, sorry, bro, but I have to give one to Chelsea.
Yeah,
because
I thought it was going to happen.
To lose against, I mean, this is rookie of the week, but you lost to rookies.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't get more rookie than that.
No, it was. I think I'm not taking it as bad because of I'm generally a bit of a pessimist, but I completely get why people want to pile on. So I ain't going to complain. I think Poch is in that as well, right?
Yeah.
Poch is in that. Yeah.
Gallagher maybe even.
Oh yeah, there's just again you could do the same thing of there's a lot of guys you can get that. You can get that.
But no, I'm just giving it to Chelsea because, like I said, there were kids out on the pitch for Liverpool. I know Chelsea's team were young and whatever, but yeah, I think Chelsea really, Pochettino and Chelsea really needed to win that final.
Yeah, all right, I like that. I've got a few and they're all quite Chelsea Liverpool focused actually. So I'll skip over the first one, but I didn't like the flares thing from the Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
I just think like I get it in certain European cultures, it's a thing, but there is sometimes just like kids sitting around and a few of the Chelsea fans were getting quite irritated at that. So that for me, I didn't like. You can be a good fan without launching flares for the sake of it, right? The second thing is on that note, and this is a really weird dud, but there was a guy sitting in front of me, skinny guy, like was giving it quite large.
Chelsea fan.
Yeah. He then suddenly started sitting next to another 2 guys who were giving it large and got really confident, started like effing and blinding at all the Liverpool fans, like his veins were going to pop out of his head. But then I caught him texting his missus. And he was like, the Liverpool fans have just thrown a flare at me, like, effing this, effing that. And she was like, oh my God, babe, are you okay? Like, I'm getting worried about you and stuff. The flare went nowhere near this guy, man. The flare was like complete other side of the ground. And he was just milking it. So I don't know if that guy's ever going to see this year, but you are such a dud, man. You're everything that's wrong.
What do you mean you don't know if he's going to see it? Gorv will listen to this.
Yeah, I don't know if that geezer's going to see it, but yeah, Gorv is on that same vibe. For sure, it was such a dud. And the last one, and another one might come to my head, but the last one, what on earth is going on with the Chelsea medical staff, man? And actually, I've got another one, but this is my main one. Like, how are these players getting injured so much? I know that injuries are unlucky. I know there's loads of factors, but when it's this consistent over a 3-year period. You got to even think about Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic when they were leaving. This has been when I saw the Nkunku injury thing today, I thought it was like, Slow
honestly.
Sports News, that Twitter page.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but something has got to, whether it's Poch's training, whether it's their regimes, something has got to change because it is killing us.
Yeah.
It's killing us.
And Nkunku's injury record at Leipzig was almost flawless.
Then he got that one injury in pre-season. That was it. So Chelsea feels like the place you go and your injuries just get worse and worse. But it's so problematic because not only does it set you back for a bit, it sets back your continuation, your progress. There's been loads of incidents the last few years where players pick up a bit of form, then get a bad injury and stay out. So that's that. And the last final thing, I talked to your dad about it when I got here today. If you are a football fan who is either buying from live football tickets, I don't mind if it's a one-off. Like I've seen a few mates when they've missed out on an FA Cup game at home. Fair enough, right? If you are just buying 300, 400 quid tickets on cup final days, and Liverpool fans who never go to any games, you know who you are, yeah? You are costing the actual fans tickets. I said it to you last week. I couldn't get a ticket at the start for various reasons. And I said to Amar, there's 2 going for 199 quid each. And he said, maybe just go for it. I said, no, I'm going to believe in the community. And thankfully, there's a few good fans out there. But these guys are ruining it for others. I sat next to 2 empty seats on a Carabao Cup final where loads of people couldn't get tickets. And it's just duddery, man. It's ruining the game. And those same people, and I'm probably going on a rant here, but those same people complain about tourists. They complain about other fans. Those tourists have every right to buy the ticket. It's the people selling them who should be kind of named and shamed. So if you do that, you're a dud. I don't want to see you at any games.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing as well. Like ticket touting now, especially, and I think you mentioned this earlier. You could potentially make good money off it. But
it's a job, man.
It does kind of kill the game.
Yeah,
because especially for a cup final, you need. Or you would like the guys who are at Stamford Bridge week in, week
100%.
out to be able to go to Wembley and support the team like they've been supporting the team all year.
Yeah.
And if you start selling, or like you say, bots buy the tickets and then you start selling them for over the odds price, like it does just because unfortunately some people can pay the 60 to 80 pounds.
Yeah.
But when it starts getting to 200 plus, it's like, I can't afford that. And the day
it's a holiday, it's a day out.
You don't know where people are coming from, the travel and everything. So yeah, I think it is a big problem, something that Arsenal have come down really hard on recently. Like they've said, if they catch anyone who's touting their ticket, they'll be banned, season ticket taken off them, everything.
How are real fans like Gore and Murph meant to go to games when there's all these touts taking their tickets, man? It's ridiculous.
I mean, they're on the sites every week.
They're there, man. They're trying their best.
Can't get them.
They just can't get the logins. They can't get the logins, man. Poor guys. Die hard.
Shout out Gore and Murph, man. But yeah, I think that's it. Anything else you want to say? Any last words now?
No, I actually love coming on the pod, man. I feel like sometimes the non-Chelsea stuff is almost even more fun to talk about because you're just a bit freer.
Yeah.
The pod's been going well. I'm loving the new setup. I think it's good. I like the shirt switch up thing. Yeah. I think that's got to be any guest who comes on.
Yeah,
you got to bring a shirt.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'll tell them that. I was upset that you told me you didn't have a Hazard Chelsea shirt.
I know. And I was reflecting on this actually. I've got in a really bad habit of not buying names on shirts because it looks a bit cringe. But
I've done the same thing. Any Arsenal shirt with a name on the back is from years ago.
Yeah, but legacy-wise, good to look back, isn't it? So I might change that going forward.
Because I would have loved to have put a Hazard.
Yeah, it would have been cool. I never got one. I really regret that. I never got one.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks for bringing
Enjoyed
the shirts.
It. Yeah.
Obviously, hopefully people who watch the pod will know you from your appearance before.
Yeah, OG.
And at some point, I might get on one more time before the end of the season.
We got to do a power episode or something. We got masterpiece out.
What I might do is I might get, when Chelsea play Tottenham at Stamford Bridge, I might try and get you and Bat.
We might have to scrap
on a podcast. And
actually, Bat's quite a tall guy. I've seen him. I don't know if you want to scrap with
Bat.
He's a big guy
I don't
now.
know about that one.
We can talk peacefully.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Omar, for coming on. And I hope you guys enjoy this. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Tell a friend about the pod. If you're listening on Spotify, follow us. And thank you. We'll see you next week. Peace.